All right, welcome back. So to be or not to be, that is the question. To be universal or to not be universal. Most of the time, you do need to be an iPhone app, right? So a lot of the times, your app, you want to hit the most users out there, you're going to be an iPhone app. There's some exceptions to that, some things that are made specifically for the iPad, but most people want to be an iPhone app. And then the question is, do you want to develop your app to be universal, or do you want to just let it zoom in, right? So just zoom in to get like twice the number of pixels. And there's a couple things to consider, right? So if we look at a couple different apps, obviously the Hello World one, you would want to be universal because there's no change to the code. There's really no reason not to be universal. You get rid of these black bars, right? But to be honest, it kind of depends on the app. So let's just look at some of the ones we've done. So we made a ColorSliders app. If I left it as an iPhone app and opened it on an iPad, it would look like this. And then if I switched it, so I just changed that button to universal, it would look like this. And so to be honest, like this one, I don't know, like by being universal, we just got a ton of red space in our UI. And so if I did want to be universal, I'd probably at least want to change the fonts and stuff, right? So there's a little difference in that. The Scorekeeper one, if I was an iPhone only app, this is kind of what I would look like. But if I switched to universal, it would look like this. So universal, it would give me a lot more rows. But to be honest, like some of the fonts, I don't know, they're a little small, right? Like for the screen real estate that we've got. So there should be some changes that need to be made. And then also another negative of the iPhone displaying on an iPad is that the keyboard is kind of huge, right? So it shows you what a zoomed in keyboard would look like too. So there's a couple little negatives. Now, it actually turns out that you can do a lot more with the UI than just like changing fonts and stuff around. Let's go ahead and take a look at the master detail template. We kind of alluded to the fact that it was different, and just go ahead and see what some of the things are that it does. So go ahead and go back over into Xcode, and you can say File, New Project, and let's just make a new project based on the master detail application. And so this one, what we're going to do, and you can call it whatever you want. You can just call it master detail template. That'll be fine. And what I want you to do is I want you to set it as universal. And so this will give you the iPhone version and also the iPad version. So make sure you've got that, and then you can save it wherever you like. So once you've got this thing open, you can kind of glance at the storyboard. I don't want to go into the details of the storyboard, but you can kind of see some of the things that are going on. It's complex is all I really wanted to get at. And if you want to, you can run this thing on a couple different devices. What I'm going to run it on first is I'm going to run it on an iPhone and just kind of show you how this thing works. So the way it works is it's a master detail view. So it's got a view controller that's a table. So here's the table. In order to make it functional, they made it to where you could click on it and would add individual timestamps. And then if you click on a row, it takes you into a detail view. Now, to be honest, you wouldn't do time like this, but it's just kind of showing you this idea of using a drill down menu and what it looks like. But if you wanted to make a master detail on iPad, you can actually do more with the pixels. And they've got some specific tools, the main one being a split view controller, that you can use to actually make the most use of those pixels. So here it is on an iPad. To be honest, if you just are looking at the portrait, it doesn't look that different until here, right? So it shows the detail page here, and it lets you kind of bring over this master tab, and you get this for free, which is kind of cool. Also in landscape, what happens is you can actually see both at the same time, right? So they've got this split view controller that lets you see both at the same time because you've got all these extra pixels. So you can see that there is a lot more that you could do if you wanted. So that's just one of the decisions that has to weigh into your decision as to whether you want to be universal or not be universal. So you kind of end up with three options most of the time. So you could do a lot, right? So you could make a split view controller or whatever it is on iPad, and then a drill down navigation controller on iPhone. It does take time, right? But it does add awesome. So it might be something you really want to do. You could do very little, like our Scorekeeper and our sliders. You could just fix some fonts. We're already using constraints, so just fixing some fonts might be all you really need to do. And then your third option is you could just do nothing, right? And just be an iPhone app, and then just iPad users can use you, but you're going to get pixel zoomed, and you're going to get that kind of annoying black bar, and that may or may not really bother you. Some people it really bothers, right? So to be honest, when I first started looking at this, I assumed that I was going to only ever be universal, and I would never do anything else, except for the fact that the company that I work for, so I do some consulting for Scorekeeper, we are an iPhone-only app. Why? Right? Are we lazy? And the reason is that we have analytics, right? So we look at our users, and if we look at our users, we have 95% are iPhone users, 4.5 are iPad, and then there's one guy out there using an iPod Touch. Who knows what he's up to? The other thing I'll say is we're cross-platforms. We're actually 55% Android users and 45% iPhone users. So it's not that 4.5% of our users are iPhone or iPad. It's more like 2%, right? And to be honest, we thought about all these crazy things we could do with like split view controllers and how we could make the UI more intuitive. And the developer time that goes into that just really wasn't worth it. And to be honest, the 2% of the people, they can still use the app on an iPad. It's just zoomed. So we've actually not really planning on making a universal app right now. Now, it's on our to-do list, but if you look at its ranking to other things, it might not happen. And to be honest, there's some advantage in not doing it, because if you make that commitment and then you change your UI later, which happens, right, then you have to change it in 2 places. I mean, 3 places, because we do Android as well. And so to be honest, we've chosen to be iPhone only. Now, there are other apps. So I've got another app that I've made. It was called EasyCam. It's down now. But it was specifically for, like, adding a camera to iPad when it didn't exist, like in the first ones, right? So that one had to be universal. So it depends on what you're doing, whether you want to be one or the other. But these are some of the things that you should think about in your design decision. All right, that's all we got for the pros and cons. We'll see you next time when we start talking about pixels. See you then.